All right, let's give it a start. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Murphy Jr. This is this is Understandably Live. I am talking with Annie Korzen, who's famous for a lot of things. She's famous for her recurring role on Seinfeld. She's famous for The Moth and Morning Edition. She's famous for being the kind of the definition of the rabbit hole of TikTok, where you watch one of her videos and next thing you know, half your day is gone. So thanks for being with us, Annie.
My pleasure. As I said, there's nothing I love more than talking about myself. So this is fun for me.
That's excellent. Hey, as everybody's joining us, just so you know, I always say this, but I just want to make sure you know I'm recording this. Whatever view happens to be on here could wind up on YouTube. So if you don't want to be recorded for perpetuity, don't show your camera, but you're welcome to if you want. We'll do this gallery view. We'll try this out and see how everybody's doing today. So awesome. Thanks for being with me, Annie. Let me just start off by asking, we talked before everybody came in about how Seinfeld's almost your lost leader at this point, the thing that we know everybody wants to know about. So can you just tell us about your role on Seinfeld and how you got it and how it's affected your life?
Well, the thing is this, you have to understand, it's not a very significant role. And actually what happened was a much better known actress at my agency turned it down because he said, just a couple of lines, I don't want to bother. At that point, the show had not taken off yet. This was early, this was 91. And my agent called and said, well, there's this small role on this new show. Nobody knows much about it. Do you want to audition? And I never say no to anything. I can't afford to. So I said, yeah, I'll give it a try. And I went in and I didn't know that the role would then occur. It was the role of down in the condo. I'm married to Jack, what's his name? Klompus, who's always fighting with Jerry's father. So that role turned into a recurring. I did it 3 or 4 times. So I got to be some of the classic episodes, the pen, the Cadillac, the raincoats, and then they liked me and I liked them. So they gave me a second role. I think simply because what I was doing was so small, it was so tiny. I just had a line here and a line there. So I did a second role of obnoxious airline passenger when Elaine is stuck in coach. So really what I did was not that significant. But number one, the checks still keep coming in. That's from 91. I think I once counted them. I had on all 4 or 5 episodes, I think I had 13 lines, and I've earned over $80,000 for those 13 lines. But more importantly, my association, as slim as it was with that show, has just opened doors for me. People think, oh, she was on Seinfeld. Oh, she had a recurring on Seinfeld. And they make me appear to be much more important than I am.
Well, clearly so now you've hit the big
time. The moral is just don't turn anything down. You don't know what's going to happen.
and it opened the biggest door of all, and you've hit the big time now on this Understandably Live interview. So I'm sure you've been waiting 25 years for that. So that's great. So can you say who the actress was that turned it down? Was it Meryl Streep? Is that the rumor I've heard?
No, I can't. Oh, okay. I can't. Because she's not a famous actress, but at that time, she worked a lot more than I did, mostly in commercials, but I don't even know, I haven't heard of her in a while. But, you know, I just think for me, it's a job is a job. And not just a job. I think in life, you do not know what's going to happen. It's better to do something than not to. What do you get out of not doing something?
Sure.
Not doing something leads to 0, right?
Yep.
And doing something, you never know.
Yeah. You actually, you answered a question. You answered it in that other article that you wrote that I read. But I always kind of wondered this, like if you have a small role in something that becomes big, especially as an actor, how much money do you make? So I hate to be so mercurial, but it sort of jumped out at me.
Well, you keep getting, they're called residuals, and you keep getting them every time one of those shows airs. And sometimes they're very tiny. I've gotten residuals, not maybe for this show, but for other shows. I've gotten literally residuals for 1 cent. Because it depends where it plays and what kind of medium, and is it cable, and is it, I don't know. But obviously for a big show like Seinfeld, it's been significant.
I remember an author telling me that when I first started writing books, he said, there's an entire industry in New York of CPAs that will do forensic accountings on book royalties and whether you're really getting what you should.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, I'm not saying you're not, but it's just interesting that there are, because you kind of, oh, I had no idea this network existed where this is a rerun.
Right.
Thank you for the
Well, in
penny.
my
Yeah.
case, it's my union that's supposed to do that. Screen
Oh,
Actors,
okay.
'cause they
Sure.
monitor all that, and I have to trust them. I have no way of looking
Yeah.
that up. Now
I
you're
want
gonna get paranoid. Maybe they owe me even more.
and with interest and yeah, no. So I want to get to TikTok, but I want to ask you before that, like, tell me, I mean, you described yourself as a character actress. I was looking at your IMDb page and everything and just kind of doing math, and it looks like you came to acting maybe in your 30s or something like that. I'm curious, can you give me a
Or even
nutshell of
later.
your,
I started late. I was a
yeah.
stay-at-home mom,
Hmm.
and I was a piano teacher. I was brought up to be a musician, which I always hated. I don't hate music, but I hate playing piano and practicing and teaching. And I always loved film and television and movie. I've always loved the performing arts. So I started late. And actually, it took me many years to catch up. I have finally caught up, but I'm older than mud. I mean, I have the career now I wish I had had when I was 40 or 50. So now I've got to live to be 100 because I'm much older. You know what I mean? It took me a long time. Now all the casting people know me. Now I have something of a reputation. But the thing is, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, in Hollywood, everything is niche, everything is branding. They have to know who you are, what you do. So I have been branded, which is okay, as the urban, acerbic, ethnic older woman. What's bad about that is I think I could play a lawyer or a judge or a psychiatrist. I don't get cast for those. They just see me more as, the nasty lady on the street who says, "Excuse me, I'm trying to walk you," So I guess in a way I'm fortunate that I have found that brand. On the other hand, I wish I could do some of the other stuff that I'm perfectly capable of doing. But that's business, that's showbiz.
Yeah.
Unless you're Meryl Streep, for character people like me, they have to know who you are, what you do.
Right. So you're very, I mean, you describe yourself this way, very New York, right? New York is a big part of who you are, but you're in
I
LA.
think I am.
But
I'm
you're in LA.
Huh?
You're in LA, which I didn't even realize until we were working out the time zones to do this chat.
Yeah, I'm in LA, but I still consider myself a New Yorker. Yeah. It's something, well, I guess you all know, you're all East Coast people. I don't know how to say it. If you grow up in New York and if you love New York, it stays with you. No place else really can match up. Certainly not Los Angeles, which isn't really a city. If you like city life, I can't parallel park. I can't. You people all drive out there in the burbs. I can barely. I mean, I have a license, but God knows I don't use it. You don't want me on the road. I'm just not a car person. I'm an urban person. I want to walk out of my house, lock the door, go across the street to a movie and go 2 blocks down for dinner. That's my idea of a night out. You can't do that in LA. I can, because I live in the only neighborhood where you can do that.
Oh, okay. I'll bet you I can imagine where you are, but I won't ask. But
oh.
Yeah. I actually didn't ask where people are. If anybody wants to say where you are in the chat here, that's useful, because we are actually all over the world. We sometimes have people in Australia and Asia and Europe, and certainly all over the U.S.
Really?
So not all New Yorkers.
I'm very central LA. It used to be called the Fairfax area. It was an old kind of Bronx neighborhood when I first moved in. It was just old sort of immigrant Russian Jews. Now it's become very chic because it's become a desirable area. It wasn't when I moved in.
Got it. Actually, we do have a question. I want to get the Seinfeld thing, and then I want to ask you about TikTok and everything. But I wondered about this. Have you watched every episode of Seinfeld? Are you a fan?
Yeah. Not only that, but my husband, when I first did the show and I came home, and the first episode that I was in aired, and that was the Pen. That was the first episode I did. And my husband watched it, and he said, "I don't get it. It's not about anything." He literally said that.
That's funny.
Because of course it's become the theme of the show. Yep. Since then, we've watched every episode, and my husband still watches every day. He watches at least 3 or 4 episodes.
Oh, wow.
And I have a theory I'm going to ask you, or actually, I don't mind if somebody else wants to answer. Because I know the answer to this. What do you think is the secret to that show's success? I'm going to ask you, Bill. What do you think?
Well,
what do you think about it? Why?
I would be
not pleasant.
Right. I would be cheating because I actually quoted the last paragraph of your article where you had your theory of it in the newsletter. So
Okay.
it'd be a, it'd
So
be
I
a,
will give the answer.
and
Should I just give the answer?
yeah, give the answer because I loved it. I loved it.
This is my theory. My theory is you have these people, they're selfish, they're kind of immoral, they're manipulative, they steal from each other, they do bad things to each other, they take advantage of Jerry. They are not nice people, but we want to spend time with them. And why is that? And I think besides the fact that the acting is great and the writing is great and it's very funny, but I think the real answer is that they always forgive each other and move on. They are a family, and all sitcoms are based on that, on the theory. By the way, Larry David would never agree with this. If he heard this, he wouldn't agree with it. But the reason you watch sitcoms is because you want to be part of that family. Maybe you don't want to be part of it, but you want to observe it. And sitcom really is about family. It's about people forgiving each other and moving on. Kramer can come in and eat all of Jerry's food and make a mess of his house, but Jerry's not going to say, you can't come here anymore. That's not going to happen. They accept each other for the,
Yes.
like for the limited people that they are. It's about acceptance.
Yeah, what's interesting. I remember thinking shortly after 9/11 that Seinfeld was not going to age well. And I think for me personally, it didn't for a short while. But now I go back to it, and it's kind of the way it was watching in the 90s. But there was a short time afterward where I just thought that this is such a New York thing, and New York is so different now. And yeah.
That's interesting.
But oh yeah, do you have, Sarah? I want to make sure I ask. Well, I scrolled up here. Just Jeannie's question, which is, do you have a favorite Seinfeld episode other than the ones you're in?
I didn't put my chat on.
Oh, he just asked, do you have a favorite Seinfeld episode other than the ones you acted in?
Oh, I actually well, there are a lot of them. There are several of them. The one I guess I love most is it's Elaine and Jerry Stiller and the Korean manicure place. I don't know if any of you remember that. He goes in to translate for her because she knows they're talking about her. She knows they're nasty and they don't like her. They're talking about, and he goes in and he discovers that I see Martha is laughing. She remembers that the owner of the place was actually his lover when he was a soldier in Korea. And it's just a fabulous episode. Now, I can't remember if that's the same episode. Oh, and she promises them tickets. She takes them tickets to see who? To see Bette Midler? Martha, do you remember? Does anybody? She takes them tickets to some show, and they get to the show, and there's an understudy or something. It's a disaster. And actually, that episode was written by, and I know her now, I forget her name. It was written by one of their, Tara Leifer, who's she's a famous TV comedy writer who's on a par with Larry and Jerry and all those people. I think it was written by her.
Okay.
And of course, the control episode with the "Can you not masturbate?" That's a classic. The contest, is that what it's called?
That's what it's called. That's the one that was ranked #1. Actually, I looked up a few sort of compendiums because it has been a while since I've watched Seinfeld. Across all of it, the contest is ranked the #1. Everybody.
Oh,
ranked the other #2 through 169.
Who was that one? I wonder. I have to look that up.
And everybody also says the worst one, which I never actually saw, was apparently one. The worst one they say was the one where they made fun of the Puerto Rican Day Parade, which I never saw, but I saw a bunch of things.
Is that the last? Is that one of the last ones?
I don't know. I never saw that one, but
I don't remember that one.
All right, I want to make sure we talk about TikTok, and I'm going to put your. If I were really smart, if I had any tech skills at all, I would have had press a button and show a couple of your TikTok videos. The least I can do for y'all right now is drop the link to Annie's TikTok in the chat. But I want to hear about this. How you made a remark in another interview you did about how this was great because, as you said before, about having the career now that you wish you had years ago, because you have the connection, you have the way to reach the audience without necessarily the gatekeeper of casting agents and getting, pegged to
Yeah.
something. So tell me about
Well,
TikTok.
and the thing is, it's so weird. I don't, how shall I say? I don't use TikTok and I don't use Instagram or Twitter. The only social media I use is Facebook, mostly for professional reasons. But, I do a lot of what's called now storytelling. I do the Moth and I do in LA spoken word shows all the time. And it's really what I love to do best is to stand up and speak my own words. I do solo shows. I like to speak. I like to write for myself. It's a me thing. But I always feel my audiences are too small. I was complaining to a friend I have. She's 30 years old. She's the total opposite of me. So here I am. I'm this short, curvy, old Jewish lady. She's 30 years old, tall, thin, model, gorgeous, church-going Christian. And we are soulmates for various reasons. And I was telling her, I think maybe I should go on Instagram, whatever that is, and maybe make some little videos of me. Maybe people would find that amusing. She said, forget Instagram. That's so old. That's so last century. You have to be on TikTok. I said, TikTok, that's for young girls shaking their booties and show you how to wear makeup. Why would anybody? She said, trust me, you will go girl on TikTok. So I said, all right, I'll do it if you do it, if you produce it. So she does it all. She shoots it, she adds the music. I wouldn't know how to do I can barely send a text. I can barely take a selfie. She does all that. And the response, quite frankly, I do not totally understand. What I'm doing there basically is I'm saying things I've been saying for the last 50 years of my life. I'm not writing new stuff here. This is stuff I've always said, but I've always thought that my target audience were basically middle-aged or older, educated people, mostly women, mostly Jews. That's what I thought my audience was. The TikTok audience is totally different. I have young single women. I have people of all color, people from all countries, and some very serious, pious Christians who see Jesus in me, which is really funny for me. So I don't quite get it. And when I ask people, I say, well, why? Why are people responding to me? They say, well, because you're authentic and real. And I don't know what that means. Everybody's authentic and real, I thought. Maybe because of my background in combination of performing and writing, I'm able to express myself easily and in a real way. I mean, I don't know. You tell me. I don't really get what this is all about. And by the way, I'm not one of their big. I haven't really gone viral. I have big numbers, but not compared to some of those kids who have millions and millions. But for somebody my age, that's what's the phenomenon, that I'm my age and I have as many. I think I have over 2 million likes and over 200,000 followers. Which is growing, it's steadily growing. I don't get it, but I'm not complaining. I don't understand it, but I'm not complaining. I'm very happy for the love.
Yeah,
Once in a while, there's a hater,
Yeah.
What I don't like is that I have to edit myself too much because of the cancel culture out there, because of the trolls, that there's certain words. I didn't even know, I did a whole thing about gays. I didn't know that you can't use the word homosexual. Is that a bad word now? Does anybody know? Not to me, it's not. But I was told, no, that's a no word. You can't say that anymore.
Who is it, in the comments or something, or your friend that's producing, or?
Mm-hmm.
So first off, I just have a sense you probably would get a pass, right? Because people, or am I wrong? You don't get a pass?
I get it. I think I get a pass. I don't have too many haters. Once in a while there is, and usually they make no sense. I don't even understand what it is that they're offended by, because those are just people who want to hate, I guess. But one time I got taken off, and that really upset me. And I appealed.
You got suspended?
No, I had a very, very popular video taken off, and it was a thing I did about the relationship between gays and Jews, and that there's always been a connection. I talked about that in a funny way. And I told a joke, an old showbiz joke, which is, what do you get if you lock, that's where I use the word homo. If you lock a homosexual and a Jew in a closet, what do you get? And the answer is a Broadway musical. It's an old theater joke. And people are laughing, it's funny. Well, that got taken off for being offensive. And what I hate about that and this cancel culture is, I didn't know why. I wasn't given a reason of specifically what was offensive. I could not face my accuser. I could not defend the real meaning of the piece, which is subtle, which is that these are two groups that were both in the camps. Hitler put them both on the camp. You know, that's two groups that have a legacy of oppression. I didn't want to get into all that serious stuff, but that was in my, anyway, I was so upset at being silenced.
Yes.
By anonymous, you know, that I said to Mackenzie, we have to find some way to appeal this. And the appeal, even in the appeal, they don't let you defend yourself. You just say, we would like to appeal this, which means for them to take another look. And they put it back up. But I wasn't totally satisfied because I felt that I didn't have my day in court. I wanted to know more and say more. That was a little shocking to me.
I can imagine. Yeah, that's.
But now I'm scared. So now I'm afraid. Can I use this word? Can I use that word? I wanted to tell. I had a great story about an interaction I had with a young Muslim student on an airplane. Mackenzie said, once you use the word Muslim, you're going to open yourself up to all kinds of ugly crap. And I thought, what? Do we not use words now? It's a word. It's not a word that has any value, positive or negative, one would think. And no, she said, we can't do that. You just don't want to invite the crazies.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's such an interesting discussion. I mean, I'm guessing that, and I don't know, but I'm guessing that the original suspension might have just been algorithmic, not even a human being, but just the fact of the use of this word. And then
maybe because I used the word homosexual, or maybe, I don't know.
The sheer volume of content. Yeah. You know what? I looked at, as I said, this is the rabbit hole. If you go to her page and check it out, you're probably, it's kind of the thing about TikTok. It's genius. But that
I don't know that I'm a Korzen on TikTok. I'm not any. I'm a Korzen.
Yeah.
But I think if you put my name in, you find me, right?
That's how I found you. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I'm going to interrupt myself to say, please, if anybody has other questions, pop them in the chat there. We'd love to pass them along here. But I did watch, I watched a bunch of them, but there was one where you had this 14-year-old neighbor, and it was so interesting. I went to it first because it was one that had millions of views. It had millions of views. I said, well, which ones have the most views?
A lot of views. It's so weird. That was weird to me too. I thought, since, as I say, I have this new audience of people I don't understand why they're watching me. And I know I have a lot of kids. And I was told by his mom that this kid was enjoying my videos. So it's funny you should say that, because today we're going to do a few more. We're going to shoot a few more of those. One of a very young kid, one of a neighbor's kid who's a young Black kid. It's weird. I don't understand why a 14-year-old would be interested in anything I have to say.
Yeah. So tell me, what's the process? You record a bunch of them at once?
Yeah.
Yes,
and we're because we post 2 a day. So we get together once a week and we try to do, I don't know, between 15 and 20, and they're very fast, and we work really well together. In the beginning, I was nervous about it. I would write them down, and now I don't. I just give myself, I make up some topics, and we go, and we never do retakes. We never, if I leave something out, that's it, because the idea is they shouldn't look scripted. They shouldn't look performed.
Yeah.
Mackenzie has taught me that. That's what she uses, that word authentic. They have to be like just somebody talking and, just winging it. That is, it shouldn't look prepared. Because that's what people appreciate. And that I'm easy. I have a background in improv and all that. So that's easy for me. That's fun. What's not fun is the makeup and the clothing and I bought a hairpiece. I'm not using it now. I don't use it that often, but beforehand, I have to do a lot of preparation before we start shooting.
Well, I think you wrote a book, right? On what was it called? How to live the good life on the cheap, or something like that. Am I butchering the title?
Thank you for mentioning that. I always forget. Yes, I wrote a book called Bargain Junkie, Living the Good Life on the Cheap. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I find that among my largest number of fans are thrifters. I've been a thrifter all my life. I had no idea that it was a thing now, that it was a trend with young people. I had no idea. I've done it all my life. because I was brought up poor and I was taught never to waste anything and never to waste money and never to pay more than you possibly can for anything. And I've always lived my life that way. I've never shopped retail. I mean, you can see my house behind me. Everything in here is from yard sales and thrift stores and eBay and whatever. My nice Hawaiian shirt, that my vintage earrings that I'm wearing, that I maybe paid $1 for at a yard sale. And so at one point, I have a friend in New York who's a literary agent, said, you should write a book about your bargain life. And I did. It was not a big seller. Bargain Junkie, Living the Good Life on the Cheap. It's on, I think you can buy the book on Amazon, and you can also get the audio thing from Audible.
How do you feel? How do you feel when people pick it up for $1 at a thrift shop? Is that sort of?
Well, I don't have any right, to complain or write. I see used copies on eBay for $1.50. So I guess I can't really complain since that's how I get everything. I don't buy books anymore. I get all my books from the library.
That's the thing. I once, more than once, got these heartfelt emails from people. I loved your book. I wrote a book about West Point and the Iraq War. I loved it. It touched me. It did so much for me. I had to wait 3 weeks to get it from the library. I'm like, you got it from the library? Come on. And then you took the time to write me?
Funny. That's a right. Actually, I don't think my book is in a library. It was a paperback. I wondered. I've never thought about that.
That's funny.
In Denmark, where my husband is from,
yes,
when you take a book from the library, I forget how it works. I think you pay a yearly fee to belong to the library, and then the author gets something. The author gets something every time you take out a book. I forget exactly how that works.
Oh.
But maybe they should have something like that here. On the other hand, free public libraries is such a great thing.
True.
So great for kids. I mean, as I say, I was a poor kid. I would go to the library every week and get books.
New York City has the most amazing public libraries I've ever seen. New York City, if that's where you grew up, has the most amazing public libraries.
Yes, I did. I assumed that was the same way all over. You mean that's just a New York thing?
Well, maybe it is all over. No, it's not just a thing. Yeah, I don't know. But New York City certainly has great ones. There's a quote you had. I just want to read this because it kind of brings a lot of things together that you've talked about. Where you said, "I hope this isn't too," but it was in the foreword. If there's a casting call for an attractive older woman, I've been told many times I'm too Jewish looking, and Hollywood doesn't think of that as attractive. So it's amazing to me that on TikTok, people are telling me that I'm beautiful. I never heard that in my life ever until now. I mean, that just kind of stuck with me.
Right. And not only that, but the people in Hollywood who say that women like me are not attractive, those are Jewish executives. It's not anti-Semitism I'm talking about. Those are Jewish men who want to kind of separate themselves with their background, who want, if you think about the history of Hollywood, those Jewish pioneers in the beginning who created Hollywood, they're the ones who invented the myth of small town America, which really doesn't exist in the way they had it, where it's this nice place and everybody's pleasant. I've been to small town America. It's not always that great. It's often full of bigotry and ignorance and drugs. And, it's not this idyllic place that the movies created. And it was Jews who created that idol. I'm not talking about Montauk. Montauk is great. But, so that Jewish women characters are always, I don't know if I had that article. I wanted to get an audition for the role of a rabbi, some movie or some show, I don't know what. And my agent said, that the director said, no, he wouldn't see me, or the casting person, they wouldn't see me. This is for the role of a rabbi. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't see me because I was too Jewish. The director, who was Jewish, was only seeing Gentile actresses because he wanted to make sure that the character was likable.
Oh, wow.
That's my career in a nut. I've been fighting about that all my life. And just recently, there was a big article in, I think, Variety about it's about time that Jews started examining how they are treated and how they have been treating themselves in the industry.
I spent 1 year in Hollywood as a screenwriter before doing
really?
Other. Yeah. I mean, as a struggling screenwriter, let's say. I mean, there's no movies with my production credits, but that whole world, And you remind me, I think somebody could do it. Maybe they have done a book that's just, you know, horrible things studio executives have said that get passed around. It would be an entire book, and each one would
Oh,
be more amazing than the last. You can't believe
yeah.
that.
Some of it can get ugly, right?
Yeah, yeah. So,
Hopefully some of that is changing. Hopefully a lot of shit is changing.
so you're still working. You're actually,
Did anyone have any questions? I
yeah.
don't know who Shirley Curry is.
Who's Shirley Curry?
I don't know who that is. Does everybody know who that is? Is that someone I should know about? I know somebody wrote Kay Sullivan. Oh, Kay Sullivan's up there. She wrote, I would love to see, she has a gaming, I know nothing about gaming. Words with Friends, that's my game. That's my game. Play Words with Friends. Used to be Boggle.
Okay, so what's the future? What would you like the future to be?
No, I don't know. I mean, my agent in New York thinks I should write a book of a kind of a TikTok wisdom type book. You know what I mean? Wisdom from a TikTok queen or something like that. And I'm thinking about that. And right now, actually, I'm doing some teaching. You know, I teach storytelling. It's one of the things that I love to do.
Yeah.
So I'm doing some Zoom teaching. As a matter of fact, I have a class this Sunday. If anybody's interested, just go to my website. I think the information is there. My website, by the way, is anniekorzen.com. I teach storytelling. And when I say storytelling, it's the personal essay, writing the personal essay. People who are either doing memoirs or want to write and perform stories from their lives. That's what I teach. I love that. I love that. And I have another class in another 2 weeks. I like that a lot. And one of my students, actually one of my longtime students who works with me privately, she just sold her first magazine article, which is nice.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. You know, I'm pretty convinced that everybody should write a memoir. Some of them should be short, but everybody, I mean, I could have almost anybody on video like this, and if I knew the question to ask, I could get an amazing story out of them. And
you're right. But you know what, the thing about memoirs is, and actually storytelling too, what people don't understand is that it can't be just your memories. This happened, that happened. Nobody's interested in that. A memoir, I mean, to be a successful published memoir, has to be a story of survival. It's the only kind of memoir that works. What you did, how you overcame what you were given. Now, if you had a lovely childhood and you just want to do a little, you know, a little memory of that, that's kind of a vanity thing. That's fine. It's not really of much interest to the outside world. We want to, and when I teach storytelling, I say what you want to tell in a story is a dramatic event that changed your life for the better. That's what every story should be. And if you think about any movie you've ever seen, any TV show, any book, your favorite movies, basically, that's what they're about. There are people who something happens to them and forces them to change, and the change is usually for the better.
That's
that's pretty put. Story. I'm simplifying it, but that's basic story arc. Basic what a story is.
Do you want to give us any other freebies that you're doing in your Zoom class?
No, I like that. I like that topic.
Yeah. So I should write a book because I've been brought back from death 6 times so far. Yes, you clearly should. That's that's
a dramatic event that changes.
A little more.
The other thing with that, if I were teaching, where is he? Where's Douglas Tomlinson? Oh, I see him. Oh, his camera isn't on.
His camera's on.
The only thing I would say about that, if you brought that as a theme in one of my classes, I would say it's very fascinating, but the problem with it is it's passive. Somebody else did it. And we have stories where you did something. You had to take action and do something that changed you. I don't know if you ever took any of those screenwriting courses. The best example of that is a great old Paul Newman movie. Oh, fuck, what's it called? It's Paul Newman and James Mason. It takes place in Boston. He's a drunken lawyer.
Oh, The Verdict.
The Verdict.
Yeah, great movie.
Watch The Verdict. The Verdict is a perfect lesson in storytelling arc, where he starts and where he ends up and what he has to do to get there.
Do you know what? In my among my previous lives, I was an attorney, and in law school, we watched that movie to learn. I mean, not to learn civil procedure, but to watch a bunch of real life, quick, dramatic examples of civil
Wow.
procedures. I thought it was a useful thing. I'm going to share a very quick story. I cannot think of what it was called. There was an L. Ron Hubbard movie in the 1990s. It was a Scientology.
Really?
Anybody remember what this was called? I can't remember what it's called. Oh, look it up. Somebody look it up for me. I moved out to LA and enrolled at UCLA Extension School to do intro to screenwriting. And I will say, even though I didn't become a professional screenwriter, this course that I took was one of the most fascinating things ever. Anybody looks it up, Corey Mandel was the name of the teacher. And Battlefield Earth, I believe, is the name of the movie. The connection is this: I got there late. The course with the woman who had she had a bunch of credits, nothing huge, but like, I don't know, You've Got Mail, I think, was one. A few of these things I'd heard of. Okay, she's a published screenwriter, so it's a big deal. Corey Mandel had one credit: Battlefield Earth, John Travolta, an L. Ron Hubbard novel turned into a movie. But I got there at the last minute. I'm like, I don't know. Am I going to? And the reviews, look it up. New York Times, I should find this, has a review. And it starts out with, "Pity the poor screenwriter who turned in this piece of garbage." I'm like, and this is the guy I'm taking it from. However, he had an amazing story. You can imagine the amazing story of how he wound up with his working on this script. It was about, working with John Travolta and being recruited to write it, and he had no credits, and talking to his agent at the end and saying, "I think this is going to be a disaster. Should we take our name off? How bad could it be?" Well, it's pretty bad. This is the story he told the first day when we all got there. He said, "I know you all looked me up." But a lot of things you're talking about, exactly, the inciting incident, the dramatic thing, the change for the better, the structure. Even though I don't really write screenplays anymore, that was one of the best things I ever did, was to take that screenwriting class. It's so good for so many other things. So
it is, yeah. I mean, everybody loves storytellers, and I'll tell you one thing it's good at. How many of you have been to a wedding or a funeral where people get up, they're supposed to deliver the speech, the eulogy? I can't bear it. I want to kill myself during those things, because what they don't understand is they'll get up and they say, "As Shakespeare said." Who gives a fuck what Shakespeare said? It has nothing to do, and that they don't read Shakespeare. They don't make a speech. What you want to do is get up and tell a story. When I met the bride, she was 14 years old, and the first thing she said, you humanize the people, and the same at a eulogy.
Yeah.
What I remember, my best moment with my father was when and so what you're saying is really that if you have a little knowledge of storytelling, it can serve you in all kinds of ways in your life. I'm glad you brought this up, because I'm going to make a TikTok about this. But why people should learn storytelling, not just if you're a lawyer, and it's about communication. How many doctors have we met who don't know how to talk to people?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a very important skill that not enough people have. Certainly politicians don't have it enough. Mm-hmm. That was, I thought, was the problem with Hillary. She didn't know how to tell a story and make herself human, get the people to see her as a human, vulnerable person.
That's right. Even though it's funny, because you said, I don't know what being authentic means, but clearly you do. Maybe you don't define it, but this is Annie Korzen. I feel when folks, before I brought everyone in the room, I told Annie I felt like I knew her because I'd spent 30 minutes watching her TikTok videos, and I'd forgotten that she'd never seen me or heard my voice, but I felt like I knew you. And that's a gift. If it's not a gift, it's something you've honed. So it's pretty cool one way or the other. So
I guess I've been working on it it's a gift I've been working on for many years.
Doug, I'm glad that I'm just following up the chat. I should write a book because I've been brought back from death 6 times so far. So my God, I don't know where to go with this. Maybe we should have you on here one time. I took action when I had brain surgery to stay alive. I kind of want to hear the story, but I also have, sorry?
See, if you had done the brain surgery on yourself,
yeah.
But if you go to someone to do something again, it's passive in terms of storytelling. Now, yes, making the decision, that's an active choice. That you make the decision that you're going to do this. That is true. That is active. I'm just curious. I want to ask the audience. So you have people. See, I thought you were going to just have people. You have people from all over the country here.
Yep. I think we had someone from Brazil. I don't know. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Brazil,
I'm impressed. I'm impressed with
Boston,
what a wide,
Toronto, New
with
Hampshire,
what a
Brazil.
wide audience you have, Bill. You know, that's pretty impressive.
Oh,
You've got
thank you. Yeah.
people all over the place.
Yeah, it's really taken off in the last 6 months or so. We have over 100,000 daily free subscribers. Now, obviously, they don't
Wow.
all open it and read it
Wow.
every day, nowhere near. But yeah, all over the world. It was I started writing this in November of 2019. Then the pandemic hit, and we were stuck at home. And I was doing other things for sure, but this was kind of my constant. My Some days it was, I'll criticize my own work. Some days it was great, some days it wasn't, but I kept doing it, and I feel like it's resonated. It's been really gratifying.
You know something? It's funny you should say that. Or somebody is saying teach Bill your TikTok tricks. You need a producer. You need a young person like I have. You need a young person to do it with you.
Yeah.
But wait a minute. You just said something that resonated. Now, what did you just say? I distracted myself.
Pandemic project.
Oh yes. No. I was gonna say that's interesting you should say that. I really got the idea of doing this because an actor that I know gave himself a pandemic project. I don't know if you all know who Leslie Jordan is. Very short, very gay, very Southern. He was on Will and Grace. He's much better known as an actor than I am. And he gave himself a pandemic project because he was stuck at home. He said he was going to film 2 Instagram posts a day. And they went viral. And I read an article about him. And that's what gave me the idea. Oh, I know Leslie. He used to be with my agent. I know Leslie. Maybe I should do something like that. So this whole thing really is a pandemic project. And when we started making them, it was during the pandemic. She would come in with a mask on. We would stay apart. I mean, so maybe creative people were able to use the pandemic in a positive way. It's interesting that you should say that. That you and I are both results of the pandemic in what we're doing. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, lemons out of lemonade, I guess. It was, or no, wait, lemonade out of lemons. That would be the opposite.
Right.
That's why I always need an editor.
Unless you're a Martian.
Well, I want to thank you, Annie, for being here. Thanks, everybody, for being on. I should promo that on Monday, we have Joel Meyer, who was marketing director of Netflix in the early days, a very different talk. The one parallel was when you talked about the Danish library model. I thought, wow, that's kind of closer to Netflix, but it'll be a very different conversation, but I think it's going to be really cool too. So I'd welcome you guys to check that one out. And we're going to do more of these. Why? Because I like them and people seem to like them. And, because I meet interesting people.
You. I thought you were a great interviewer.
Oh, thank you, Annie.
Yeah.
Well, now I can say that a Seinfeld actress has told me that I am a great interviewer.
Very, very important, very famous and rich Seinfeld actress.
Yeah.